For decades, marine engineers have relied on scheduled maintenance, yet failures still happen when least expected. Now, that is changing. Modern ships are powered by thousands of sensors, continuously sending real-time data from every critical system. Artificial intelligence analyzes this data, predicting failures days before they occur. With digital twins and remote monitoring, engine rooms are becoming smarter, safer, and more efficient than ever before. But how exactly does this technology work? And what does it mean for your future as a marine engineer? Let's break it down.
All right, let's talk about one of the most critical, most complex parts of any modern ship, the engine room. But forget everything you think you know, because we're not talking about the engine rooms of the past. We're diving into how AI is building these incredibly intelligent, autonomous systems and completely revolutionizing how ships operate out at sea.
So what if your ship could literally predict its own future? I mean, what if the machinery could tell you, hey, I'm going to fail, but give you weeks of warning before it happens? You know, this isn't science fiction anymore. It's the new reality, and it's all powered by AI. And believe me, it is changing everything, from how we do maintenance all the way to what it even means to be a marine engineer.
So, the engine that talks. To really get why this is such a huge deal, you first have to understand the old way of doing things, the problems we're finally leaving behind. For decades, right, engine room maintenance was all about reacting, either to a flat-out failure or just blindly following a rigid schedule. It was time for something smarter.
And you can see the evolution right here. I mean, first we had breakdown maintenance, which is really just a fancy way of saying, wait for it to break. Obviously super costly and frankly, pretty unsafe. So then we got a bit smarter with planned maintenance, based on a fixed schedule. Better, for sure, but it meant a ton of over-maintenance and wasted work. And now we've got the real game changer, AI predictive maintenance. It uses actual data to predict failures. It's not even a contest. It is by far the most efficient way to do things. So how in the world does it actually work? Well, the AI isn't just guessing. It's basically listening to the heartbeat of the machinery 24/7. You've got sensors measuring everything, vibration, temperature, pressure, you name it. And the AI crunches all of that data, looking for these tiny, almost invisible patterns and abnormalities, things a human engineer would never ever spot until it was way too late. Okay, so how does a bunch of sensor data turn into a critical, life-saving alert? It's actually a pretty straightforward flow. First, you've got sensors everywhere, on the engines, the pumps, the purifiers, just constantly gathering data. That data gets streamed to an AI system, either on board or in the cloud. Then the AI does its magic. It compares that live, real-world data against a model of how that machine should be running in a perfect world. And boom, out comes a super specific alert, something like, heads up, bearing failure is likely in the next 120 hours. Now that perfect model I just mentioned, well, that's the core of this whole revolution. It's something called a digital twin, or, as you see here, the ship's digital ghost. And this is the part that takes the technology from just watching data to actually predicting the future. This is the real game changer. So, what is a digital twin? Just think of it like a virtual ghost of your engine room. It's a perfect, real-time copy that runs in a computer, mirroring everything the physical machinery is doing. This digital copy knows exactly how the engine should be performing, exactly how much fuel it should be using, how the parts should wear down under absolutely perfect conditions. And that perfect baseline, well, that's the key to everything.
And this is where you really see the power of it all. Okay, so a human engineer sees a tiny little rise in exhaust temp. What's the reaction? It's probably just a normal fluctuation. I'll keep an eye on it. But the AI, it sees that exact same temperature rise and compares it to its digital twin. It knows instantly, nope, that deviates 0.2% from the ideal. That is the very beginning of an injector fault. It catches the problem right at the source long before it becomes a real headache. So, what does all this mean for the company's bottom line? Well, how about this? Companies that are using this tech are seeing their maintenance costs drop by anywhere from 10 to a whopping 45%. That is a massive, massive saving. For major shipping lines, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay, so it's really easy to hear all this and think, yeah, okay, that's the distant future. But the single most important thing to take away from this is that it is not theory anymore. The revolution isn't coming. It's happening right now, and the pace of change is just getting faster. I mean, just look at this timeline. Think about it. 5 or 10 years ago, the job was all about manual watchkeeping and just reacting to whatever alarm went off. But fast forward to today, 2026, and AI-driven prediction and remote monitoring from an office on shore. That's quickly becoming standard practice. We've gone from being reactive to being predictive in less than a decade. That's incredible.
And I want to be clear, these aren't just some small pilot programs or tests. We're talking about the biggest names in the industry being all in. Wärtsilä just launched a system this year that automatically gives maintenance advice right to the crew on board. You've got Hyundai already putting AI-navigated car carriers out on the water. Kongsberg, ABB, they're all deep in this space. This stuff is officially mainstream.
And whenever you see this much movement from the big players, you can bet there's some serious money involved. So what's the number? The projected market for autonomous shipping is on track to hit a staggering $22 billion by 2033.
And just look at that growth. We're already starting from a huge market today, over $9 billion in 2026. But to get from there to a projected $22 billion by 2033, that's a compound annual growth rate of around 13%. Folks, that isn't just steady growth, that is a full-blown technological boom.
All right, this brings us to what might be the most important question of all, especially for any of you out there actually working at sea right now. With all this incredible automation and intelligence, what does it mean for the human being in the engine room?
Let's just ask it straight up. Will AI replace marine engineers? This is the question on everybody's mind, right? And the answer, let me be very clear, is no. Absolutely not. But your job is about to get a serious upgrade.
Look, the engineer of the past, that was a reactive role. You were a troubleshooter, you responded to alarms, you got your hands dirty with repairs. But the engineer of the future, that's a predictive analyst. You'll be supervising the AI systems, making sense of the data they give you, and making the big strategic calls. Think of it this way. Your job is changing from being a firefighter to being the system commander.
Now, let's be realistic. We are not at fully unmanned engine rooms tomorrow. There are still some pretty big hurdles to get over. Cybersecurity is a huge one. You can't have these systems getting hacked. Data reliability is absolutely critical. You know the saying, garbage in, garbage out. If the sensors are bad, the predictions will be bad. And of course, the regulations, the international rules, are still playing catch-up. And maybe most importantly, there's human trust. The crew has to actually learn to trust what the AI is telling them.
And that really brings us to the final, most crucial point, captured perfectly in this quote. The future engineer won't be replaced by AI. They will be the engineer who knows how to use AI. This isn't about man versus machine. It's about man with machine. AI is not your replacement. It is going to be the single most powerful tool you will ever have in your toolkit. So the real question isn't whether you'll have a job in the future. The question is, will you be the engineer who knows how to use it?
If you found this useful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more real-world marine engineering knowledge. Watch the next video on your screen. It could be the one question that comes in your oral exam. Stay sharp, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.